Okay,
Let's do
cool.
this. Yeah.
Jake, I love the work you're doing. I'm looking forward to getting into it. To begin the journey, I want to
Hmm.
start with the pandemic. Five
Okay.
years ago, it rearranged and changed so many things, all of our lives. How did you get through the pandemic of 2020, and how is it radiated into your world today?
When you want to talk about entrepreneurship and business, the pandemic was it was a learning lesson that I did not handle well. If I could have a mulligan on that one, I would like it. I had started my breathwork studio just before the pandemic began, and we were on an upward ascension. Bre Having a dedicated breathwork studio, we're the only one at the time. We're the only one in the country. I think we still are the only one. Um, Started off with two clients, grew it up to 40. I had a 7,000 square foot studio, which is rather large, and then the pandemic hit, and we shut down for 6 weeks. And being the good little guy that I was, just went ahead and shut it down. We didn't do anything for 6 weeks. And then we opened up again for 6 weeks because the state of Arizona told us we could go back into business. We did that and started over at two people again, and then grew it back up during that 6 week time. And then we got shut down again for 6 weeks. And at that point, we were doing during the first shutdown, we didn't do any business. We are just like, hey, there's a pandemic. We're not going to do anything. During the second shutdown, I was starting to become suspect of what was happening. I was like,
Yeah,
I don't really, I don't know what's going on, but what you're telling me what's going on and what I see is going on don't line up.
yeah.
So at that point, we started doing individual breathwork sessions with people, worked our way through that. And then when we came back from the second shutdown, talked to my landlord and said, "Hey, 7,000 square feet's that's a lot of rent. Uh, and if we have another shutdown, I don't think I can keep carrying this without any clients." So we reshuffled. Fortunately, the landlord had a lot of space. We moved to a smaller space that he had, and kept it going from there. And when I say I didn't handle the pandemic well, um, the the overall business strategy that I had didn't shift fast enough
Yeah.
for the changing circumstances on the ground. I think that's where I'd really like to have a redo. That I think I could have adjusted more quickly to the reality on the ground, been more open to doing online breath work and some of the other options that we have that I just wasn't as enthusiastic about. I don't think breath work itself it's not as effective online as it is in person, but even online, it's still better than nothing. And from a business point of view, it probably would have been a better idea if I had shifted to that more quickly.
So, if we were to get to the heart and soul of what you do as an entrepreneur on a daily basis, I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of 12-year-olds. It's career day. The kid in the back of the room that's curious is like, hey, what do you do for a living? How do you explain that to them?
Frozen.
Oh, sorry.
Um, yeah, I'm sorry. Last thing I heard was if we were to get to, and
Yeah,
then it cut
sorry
out.
about that. I'll start over. I didn't
Okay.
realize it froze up. There was a blip. So, if we were to get to the essence of what you do as an entrepreneur, I
Mhm.
would put you in front of a bunch of 12-year-olds at career day, and the kid in the back of the room is like, hey, what do you do for a living? How do you answer him?
That is a well-phrased question. If I was going to answer a 12-year-old, um, what I help people do is find out who they are. That's the essence of what we do. That everybody in life gets told that there's something that they're not, and then they spend the rest of their life trying to figure out who they really are.
Yeah.
And what I do is help people reconnect with who they are at their most authentic self, their most authentic core, and then bring that out to the world. As a 12-year-old, that may seem surprising to you because at 12, you probably have a pretty good idea who you are, but
Yeah.
it is one of those things that somewhere between 12 and 21 it gets a little murky.
That is interesting. I've never heard anybody phrase it like that because that's totally true. Because when you are at that young age, it's like the poem from Charles Bukowski that says, we're born geniuses and buried idiots. We just, as time goes on, we just
Hmm.
start losing all of these levels of who we are and walls are built up. But when you're young,
Hmm.
you don't have any other choice. You're not swayed any other way.
It's One, most of the people who are dissuading you from being your authentic self, most of them have good intentions. They're well intentioned for you and they want you to not stub your toe in life. I say most of them. Some people not so well intentioned,
Yeah.
but for the most part, they do have good intentions for you. And the other part, like when I'm guiding people through that process of discovering who they are, one of the exercises that I like to have them do is like somewhere between the ages of 5 and 12, there's an instance or maybe multiple instances in your life where the group, the crowd, the majority of people went one direction and then you went another direction. And it's a lot of times people do these stories, they're like, that's not a feel good story. I'm like, it's not, because it's how you're weird, it's how you're different.
Uh-huh.
Like you didn't know at that point, like I shouldn't do this thing differently from everybody else, but that thing that you did differently, innately and naturally, that's where your life purpose is.
Yeah.
Like, hey, why was I different from everybody else? And a lot of times, you know, people aren't very comfortable when they find those stories because they're like, oh, that hurt a little bit to be left out of the group. Maybe you got made fun of for it, but it's the thing that makes you unique. It's the thing that makes you special. And when you tap into that, that's when you bring your gifts to the world,
Yep.
and life just becomes a lot easier. That you can focus on, hey, here's what I'm best at. One of the other things I was joking about with this somebody yesterday, like the thing that you are, it is so easy for you to do this thing that it doesn't seem right for people to pay you to do it.
Right.
You're like, that was so easy, you can't pay me for that. And it's like, no, that's exactly what you should get paid for, because it's difficult for other people to do that.
Uh-huh.
It's just easy for you.
Yeah. What did you
Yeah.
want to be at 12 years old? What was your dream job?
I still want to be this. I wanted to be a farmer.
Okay.
Um, my goal is to get if all of my dreams comes true, I get rich doing this and then go live on a farm.
Right on. So talk to me a little bit about how you got to this point in your life. Take me back to where you were born and raised. What were the foundational elements of helping people find themselves, breath work, and being conscious of your existence?
I um I certainly have a different route to this than most people do. So most of the people do this are a little hippie-ish, little woo-woo-ish, and I'm not. I grew up in Arkansas. I was raised LDS. That didn't stick. At a certain point, I kind of looked around and said, "Hey, what you guys are saying and what you're doing don't line up. I don't have any animosity towards the church or anybody in it. It just didn't work out for me." Um, had a rough childhood. The joke I like to say is I got dealt some bad cards and then played them even worse, and doubled down on a bad hand, and was really angry growing up to the point that I became a professional fighter when I was a senior in high school, and fought professionally from the time 1990 until 2007, which is a
Wow.
really long time to fight, because that's how I was managing my anger and my rage, to the point that when I would walk into the fight gym, I was in my mid 30s at this point. One of the trainers would look at me and go, "A lot of hate, a lot of hate." And if you're the hateful guy in a group of 30 fighters, like that's a significant amount of hate.
Yeah.
Um, so after I stopped fighting, life was a struggle because I wasn't doing things to manage my anger anymore. And I was trying to figure out, why it felt like I was driving with the parking brake on in life. Like, hey, I have all these skills, I have these talents, I have these abilities. I should be doing better than I am. And for some reason I'm not. And then finally, like, you go, aha, I found the problem. It's me. And the anger I was dealing with. And that led me to breath work and emotional healing and self-awareness and transcendence. And then through finding that, realizing that like most of the people who do this are not professionals. They may be very talented spiritually and emotionally, but their reliability, their professionalism is a little suspect. And because of the background I had in the corporate world and other things, I thought, hey, we can do this at a level that it's going to be a professional experience for people, and it's going to be reliable and it's going to be consistent, and that's why I developed it.
So who's been a hero? Who's been that inspirational force for you in your life?
Um, the this is going to be an odd answer, but I'll go ahead and give this one. I am fascinated by mastery. Like, I don't care what you do. If you are good at it, if you are exceptional at it, I'm fascinated. I want to see you do it. I want to watch you do it. I want to figure out how you did it. How many reps did you do it? How long did you do it? Does this come naturally? Like, what was it that makes you so exceptional at this thing that you're doing? I don't care what it is. If you're the Tiddlywinks world champion, like, I want to hear about it. So the only person in my life that I've ever really fanboyed out about, like, I meet people and go, "Oh yeah, you're a professional NFL player. That's nice, and you do this, and that's nice." Danny Carey, the drummer for Tool, is it. He does this polyrhythmic, and when I say polyrhythmic, his right hand is drumming 4/4, and then his left hand, and this is a very simplified version of what he's doing. His left hand is drumming 3/3. So imagine trying to keep two different beats with each hand, and then he's doing the same thing with his feet, that each
Yeah.
foot is keeping a different tempo and a different beat. And I find that fascinating that he's capable of doing that, and the amount of time and the dedication that it took to do that. And just how incredible he is at his craft. From a personal point of view, I would say that's a hero of mine. It is like the only time any of my friends have seen me geek out over somebody and be like, "This is freaking awesome." Um, but professionally, Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, Tony Robinson. I know a lot of people get down on him today, but like back in the '90s, I'm assuming you were young in the '90s as well.
Huh?
That Tony Robbins and Stephen Covey were very formative to a young Jake
Yeah.
and what he was doing in life.
I remember even in the 80s when he had tapes that were out on those
Yes.
infomercials, and
Yeah.
he's still just as relevant. He's stayed clean. He's stayed
Hmm.
relevant. He's gotten stronger over the years. It's really, he's an amazing story from start to today. That's for sure.
He, he is. And I think it's as a young person, it's easy to downplay the hardships he had because he overcame them.
Yeah.
One of my favorite stories about Tony that I didn't learn until recently. He started off as a NLP coach in neuro linguistic programming with Tony Rome, and he went and did an NLP course to be certified, and was so excited and so jazzed to help people that, like, literally on the lunch breaks from the certification course, he was doing NLP with like the waitresses at the restaurant and helping people. And he came back and he's all excited about it, and they're like, "Hey, you can't do that because you're not certified yet." And he did not take that feedback, and they kicked him out, and he's still not certified. So uh,
That's awesome. What a
yeah,
great story.
yeah.
So I didn't realize I spent some years listening to Tool, and I always wondered how he did that. It was almost like the beginning of Panama with Alex Van Halen. Like,
Mhm.
how is he doing that? That level of like, your ears are like, there's no way that a human being is able to do all of that at once. And that explains what I was listening to at Tool, because he was unconscious with the way that he was doing that.
Yes, it is. It's incredible to watch if you ever like see a video of him drumming. My girlfriend and I went to a concert, and that's one of the things, we sit up high to the side stage so I can we can sit down and watch him. And I go, "All right, watch his left hand," and she's like, "Okay." I go, "Now watch his right hand," and she's like, "They're not drumming the same song," and
Yeah.
I'm like, "They are not."
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's amazing. So, I remember about 3 or 4 years ago, I'm a big audiobook guy. I got a book on
same.
breath work.
Hmm.
And I just was like, what is this all about? I just didn't put a whole lot of thought. It's one of those things that we have to do to stay alive. And it's one of the most important things that we can do if we can master it. Correct?
Correct. In many cultures, the word breath and spirit, or the word breath and soul, are the same word. They're not synonymous, they are the same word.
Yeah.
And then there are a lot of other cultures that believe that the spirit, the soul, doesn't enter the body until the baby takes its first breath. That the spirit may be hanging out around the mother during the pregnancy, but it's not until that first breath that the spirit actually enters the body. And much like nutrition, we all think we're nutritional experts because we all eat every day.
Yeah.
That we think like, "Hey, this breathing thing, I've got this figured out." And there are a lot of different breathwork styles, just like there's a lot of different karate styles. There's a lot of different types of yoga. Um, that the type of breathwork that I do creates a transcendent experience in people, and that it's a very similar to almost a mild mushroom experience. Very, like, they've done something that it turns down the default mode network in their brain. It turns down their ego and allows them to have a mental reset. That the mildest experience they're going to have is a deep meditation where the inner monkey mind, that inner chatter, goes quiet, and it gives them a moment of peace from themselves. And that's the mildest experience. And the more powerful experiences become completely transcendent, where they have a loss of time, loss of space, loss of self, duality disappears, and a singularity happens. And that from that place of transcendence, they can experience wisdom and have a greater development and growth in their life. And it allows them to see the value that they have as a person and what they're bringing to the world.
When did you discover? When was the first time? What kind of euphoria did you experience where the light bulb went off and you're like, this is what I want to do?
Um, Funny story. So the first time I did it was in 2017, and I had a friend who was like, "You got to come do this breath work. You got to come do this breath work." And I'm like, "Yeah, for sure." Um, I'm not into that weird stuff. So like, you can keep your crystals and your smoke and your feathers away from me. And actually, let me back it up. One more story before that. I had another friend who said, "Hey, you have to come do breath work." I was like, yeah, sure. Okay, I'll try it. Went and did it and basically laid on the floor and stared at the ceiling for 2 hours and nothing happened. And I was like, that is exactly what I expected. I expected this to be a nothing burger, and it was. I'll go back to trying to figure this out by myself. And then fast forward, this other friend's like, hey, you got to come do breath work with my friend. I'm like, yeah, the smoke crystal stuff doesn't do it for me. She was rather persistent, and finally got me to come and do breath work with her boyfriend. And it was I laughed, I cried, I forgave my mom. I worked through, like, it was a just an incredibly emotionally powerful experience,
Yeah.
which was transformative in and of itself. But then it has a durable effect to it, and that it wasn't like, oh, I did this breath work and tomorrow I'm back to normal. There was about 4 days where I was like, hey, I'm a different person now. This is incredible. Uh, about 4 days it did start to wear off, and I had to go back and do it again the next week to get reset. But it is just an incredibly powerful experience of healing and the journey to self-awareness.
So, as a practitioner of something that ultimately changes lives like it changed yours, what gets you up every day to do this, to not only help somebody that needs it, but to take care of your own soul? What's that balance? What's that vision every day for you?
The vision on the daily is one, I enjoy creating systems, which is why I came up with my own style of breathwork. So I went out and did all the others and then said, hey, let's focus on what works and get rid of everything that doesn't. And I think one of the things that motivates me is how can we get the best result faster, more reliably, with fewer side quests. That even as within the last 3 months, there are still revelations, insights, and ahas that I have when you're talking to someone and you see like, hey, they're struggling with this problem. One of the things that we like to say is there is no struggle, and the struggle is real. And the reason I say that is anything that you're struggling with, there's somebody else out there who's doing it easily, which means the thing itself is not the struggle. It's your approach that's the struggle. So there is no struggle, but for sure that struggle's real. And then seeing the struggles that people have and saying, how can we alleviate this struggle more easily? How can we get how can we get from here to this endpoint more quickly? And one of the things that personal pet peeve of mine when I started this is people will go on a healing journey, and like they've been on a healing journey for 20 years, and it's like, well, at some point this journey should come to an end. And that, if you hurt your knee 20 years ago and you're still telling me about the rehab and everything that you're doing to make your knee better, your friends would run out of sympathy for that eventually. They're like, hey, we need to wrap up this knee physical therapy and get on with it. And I think I see the same thing with the healing journey, is that when it's done methodically and with intention, it could probably take 2 to 3 years at the outside to get from, hey, I'm not well to I'm healthy. I'm emotionally as whole as I'm going to be. And I think 2 to 3 years is kind of the outside edge. And it's like, hey, how can we do that same thing in 6 months?
Yeah.
How can we get the same benefit much more quickly? Like, let's not do 20 years of therapy to heal from this one-time trauma that we've experienced, but how can we turn that over so that you can be healthy, you can be happy, you can be whole, that you can deal with life from a place of fulfillment instead of trying to overcome.
So let's say you have a dream tonight. You run into that angry young version of you going into the boxing ring,
Hmm.
and you can give that version of you a piece of advice based on this life that you're living, the peace you found, the wisdom you've accumulated. What advice
Hmm.
would you impart on that younger version of you? Hmm.
To be more playful.
Yeah,
Don't don't take it so serious. It's not helping.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that would probably be it.
So let's say you walk into a room of everybody that's gone into your studio that you've known in a professional sense throughout the years, and you could tell them
Hmm.
one fun story, like the best tool show you ever saw. Maybe, jumping out of an airplane, wrestling a crocodile, just a fun story. What story would you tell that room?
Oh, man, it's a lot of stories to pull from. Um, Fun story. Um, I would tell them the first time I sparred a professional boxer.
Okay.
I'm a 17-year-old kid. I've moved from Arkansas to Corpus Christi, and I want to be a professional fighter, and the trainer doesn't want to train me. I hadn't counted on that. It was the '90s, so it wasn't like I wrote ahead or emailed him or anything. I just like showed up and was like, "Hey, I'm here to train." He's like, "Yeah, no." Um, so he put me into to spar with a guy after I'd been there for a couple days, and yeah, I'm a 17-year-old kid. This guy's probably in his 20s, his mid to late 20s, and we start sparring. I'm 5'11", 130. This guy's probably 5'5", 130. I'm significantly taller. I have more reach. I feel like I'm a little bit quicker. And at a certain point, I swing down and hit this guy with a left hook to the body that I was sure like, hey, this is my moneymaker. I'm going to rough this guy up with this punch. And my hand bounces off his side like it was an inflated car tire.
Wow.
Like just pink. And I was like, is this thing on? Did we change the batteries?
Yeah.
And then that guy just tuned me up for the next 3 rounds. Just beat me to pillar, like big brothered me for 3 rounds. And at the end, I'm sitting there like, well, maybe I'm not cut out for this life. Maybe I should maybe I should go home. And the trainer comes up to me. He's like, "Yeah, how you doing?" I'm like, uh, yeah, I'm here." He's like, um, that guy was like an NABF world champion at the time. He was like, you did pretty good." And I'm like, I do not, I do not feel like I did pretty good.
Wow.
Um, but it was certainly humbling, and it gave me reset my expectations for life at that age,
For
which was
sure.
a good thing.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, of everything that you've done, the journey you've been on, the wisdom you've gained, the evolution you've been through, what are you the proudest of?
I really don't get too caught up in accomplishment.
Yeah.
Um, that I don't feel a lot of pride about much. Your kids are always the easy answer.
Yeah.
And certainly the looking, do you have children?
Yes.
Okay. That looking back, there's always things I could have done better. But I think the thing that I'm proudest of is that my kids always knew that I loved them,
Yeah.
and that they probably don't appreciate how much better they had it than I did. And fortunately, I did not tell them stories of walking uphill both ways to school in the snow, but
Yeah.
yeah, um, I'm delighted with my kids.
So at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, all of your clients, everyone that you work with, but you run the show. What's your
Hmm.
perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I am I'm a visionary and I'm an architect. I'm very good at building systems. I'm very good at like giving people clear direction. I'm an exceptional leader. I'm really good at leadership. I was an executive previously before doing this, and that day to day for the strategically, I'm great. Day to day tactical things, little questionable, little questionable. So it is. My team has a lot of fun with me because they realize that like, hey, I can rattle off like what's the most expensive element on the periodic table, but I have no idea where my keys are. Um, so that's kind of little absent-minded professor sometimes.
I love it. So if anybody wants to get involved with your studio, they have any questions, they want to reach out, any of the good business, where do they go?
There we go to breath.energy. That's our website. There's no .com. It is literally breath.energy. That's the whole website domain name, and you can get a hold of us there.
Right on. What a great conversation. Thank you, Jake. I appreciate it. Best of
Thank you,
luck with
Joe.
everything.
This has been wonderful. I really appreciated the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Looking to get new clients to your business through cold calling or email marketing? At Agency Y, they envision a world in which small and big companies have equal chances to win new customers in the market. Their purpose is to bring parity and reduce the gap between large and small firms with the help of their cold calling and cold email marketing services. Use the code Joe Dimino 10 at www.agencyyyy.org/coldcallingjoe.php or www.agencyyyy.org/emailmarketingjoe.php to get 10% off your first order. This is Joe Dimino of Neon Jazz and Famous Interviews, and I stand behind Agency Y to meet your business dreams.